Welcome to this presentation on grammar and editing tips for administrative assistants. We will cover how to edit and what to look for, common mistakes, proper use of parts of speech, and proper use of punctuation. Working with text is a big part of what an administrative and executive assistant does, so let's get started. Editing. A common task of an administrative assistant is helping to create new documents or editing current ones for use by the business or organization. Before you begin editing or creating a new document for your assignment, always ask your employer for an example of a previous document like the one you are preparing. This can help give you a starting point of what is expected and a chance to let you go above and beyond the expected result. A tip is to create a header and footer for each document and to keep templates for different types of documents, such as a template for a meeting agenda, meeting minutes, etc. Use a simple checklist when editing to include: check for active voice, use a format such as a template with a header and footer, check for proper use of grammar, including subject and verb agreement, check for proper use of parts of speech, check for proper punctuation and run-on sentences, check for slang, check for spelling. A good idea to improve business writing is to avoid the passive voice and use the active voice instead. Here is an example of how active is a better choice. The return key should be clicked by the operator. That is a passive choice. Click return. That's an active choice. The ability to produce written material that is error-free is important to you in your career as an executive or administrative assistant. Here are some tips on what to look for as you edit with an attempt to improve your writing. Avoid slang. Avoid pompous language. Express yourself clearly and naturally. Writing a phrase such as, "in accordance with your query concerning your accompanying me for a luncheon engagement," is not effective. "Let's have lunch." That is clear, simple, and effective. You don't want to be too formal and appear pompous. You also don't want to be too informal. You need to strike the right balance of clear and simple to be effective in your business writing. Here are tips to fix two of the most common errors in writing. Make the subject and verb agree. Correct run-on sentences. Here are examples of these errors and their fixes. Pat and Alex goes to the store. There's an error in the subject and verb agreement. Pat and Alex go to the store. That one is fixed. Pat goes to the store, Alex does too. Error with a run-on sentence. Pat goes to the store, Alex does too. That fixes that run-on sentence. We have just looked at some basic errors that often appear in business writing. A constant review of the basics will help you keep your writing at its best. Keeping a grammar handbook at your workplace could also help. Looking things up on the internet is also a great option. Use parts of speech properly. We can review some basics in grammar as we look at parts of speech. We care about parts of speech so that we can create a proper and clear sentence, looking how each word functions in the sentence. Nouns include a person, place, thing, or idea. Pat walks. In that sentence, Pat is a noun. Verbs appear in a sentence to describe an action or idea of being. Pat walks. In that sentence, walks is a verb. Adjectives are words that describe or modify a noun. Active Pat walks. Active is an adjective in that sentence. Adverbs are words that modify verbs, adjectives, or another adverb. Pat walks quickly. Quickly is that sentence is an adverb. Pronouns refer to a noun, an individual or group, or a thing. She walks. She is a pronoun. Prepositions are used to describe relationships between other words in a sentence. She walks on the street. On in that sentence is the preposition. Conjunctions links parts of a sentence. She walks and talks. And is a conjunction in that sentence. Articles, determiners, and quantifiers are little words that precede and modify nouns. The dog walks. The is an article in that sentence. Interjections communicate excitement, orders, or protests. Oh, she walks. Oh is an interjection in that sentence. Now we just covered some basics to help you remember how to make a complete and proper sentence. Keeping a grammar reference book at your place of work is a great idea. Webster's New World English Grammar Handbook is an example of such a reference book. Check for proper punctuation. It is always a good idea to review the basics and to make sure we are using proper language in our written work. Let's review the basics of punctuation to make sure each sentence we create uses punctuation properly. Periods appear at the end of a declarative sentence and with decimals such as 99.9% and with abbreviations. Here is a list of some of those abbreviations: etc., Mr., Mrs., PhD. Commas use different meanings in a sentence. Examples of where to use them are in a series and with a compound sentence, as with these examples. Red, white, and blue are my favorite colors. I went to the drugstore and he went to the grocery store. Exclamation points appear to express deep feeling or with a word charged with emotion, as with these examples. This writer is the best. Wow! Semicolons appear when a conjunction is omitted between parts of a compound sentence, as with this example. He went to the drugstore. I went to the grocery store. Colons are used when introducing a list or quotation, as with the following examples. You will study subjects such as these: algebra, biology, chemistry, and physics. The following quotation is from Shakespeare. A rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Quotation marks show material quoted. Apostrophes, they show possession, as with Jim's book. M dashes appear in typing as two dashes and introduce an additional thought, in contrast to a hyphen. Ellipses show omission of words in quoted material. Parentheses encloses material that explains. Brackets and parentheses are sometimes interchangeable. Hyphens break a word at the end of a line and show a compound adjective, as with the example 10-foot pole. Slashes show a choice between two items, such as and/or. Now this is just a simplified explanation of the main functions of punctuation. Keeping that grammar book at your worksite and searching the internet for rules of punctuation are both great practices to have. Don't be afraid to look it up. In summary, we have now covered how to edit and what to look for, common mistakes such as run-on sentences and subject-verb agreement, parts of speech and how to use them properly, and proper punctuation. We just took a quick overview of topics relating to editing and the proper use of grammar and encourage you to look up rules on the internet or in a reference book often. When in doubt, look it up, and thank you once again for watching this administrative assistant training video.